Hello, friends. Hello, friends. India is the home of great poets, and why today we have been discussing on Indian English poetry. We are already aware of the fact that the rise of the novel from the diaspora, novels by the Indians, which have marked their prominence worldwide. Indian English poetry has not been marketed so much internationally. It has not traveled to that extent, in the extent we talk about the Indian English novels. Indian English poetry, which began humbly in 1820s in the City of Joy by Kashi Prasad Ghosh and Derozio, but that flowered and flourished like anything which even gave fruits. The objective of this very small introductory talk on contemporary Indian English poetry today is to map out the rich mosaic of the matter. We are possibly aware of the fact that Indian English poetry has the potential to travel all across the world, in the classrooms, in the public sphere, in the academic domain, and also to the readers in the English reading community and people all over the globe. In my recent trips to a platform, and poetry is the best means through which Indians now express their hearts. Now, when we talk of Indian English poetry in the contemporary scenario, look at the variety that we have now. We have an amazing variety from the Northeast, like Mamang Dai, Temsula Rabin Angam, like even Malaswami Jacob. The content, the sociological reality, the political dimensions, the conceptions of nationhood, the contestation, statehood, belonging, territoriness, all come a new dimension, new look through the theoretical perspectives when we look into Indian Northeast. I am amazed by the variety the Northeast produces these days. If we look into the poetry from the Dalit community writing in English, most of them are writing in English for the first generation. In English, I'm talking. It is something very special because when the marginal writers write back in English, they make a new history. I think India is so different. It is a house of post-colonial reservoir of Dalit studies, marginal studies, which have potential for the qualitative richness, international acclaim. I think the academia in the worldwide we definitely appreciate and read at this very kind of writing, poetry from the margin. Now you talk of Indian contemporary poets of different parts of India. If we think of after the Indian independence, the poetry scenario in English was largely dominated by the Mumbai school of poets under the supervision or under the able guidance of none other than Nissim Ezekiel. What a train we received from Nissim Ezekiel. And in the 70s, we have witnessed the rise of Jayanta Mahapatra and different poets in English other than Mumbai and different metro cities of India. In the 90s, Indian English poets were invited to participate in different literary festivals abroad. I'm talking about the late 70s when Mahapatra was invited in Adelaide Literary Festival. That is a door to the world around. And look at the attention that the poets of 70s received. Sid Harricks, John Oliver Parry, Madhusudan Prasad, Niranjan Mahanti, 70s and 80s, they actually established Indian English poetry on firmer grounds. But I'm amazed by the growth and vitality that Indian English poetry has shown over a period of last 30 years or so. That means 3 decades or so. When you talk of Indian English poetry these days, what comes to in my mind is its richness in application. It's not that a traditional pattern that the poets are following. If we talk of a poet like any great poet of this generation, I'm amazed by the variety. A new thing that has emerged since possibly late 1980s, the diasporic Indian English poetry. Indian poetry in the diaspora. Look at Meena Alexander, Shanta Acharya, Mona Dash, Usha Kishore, Bashavi Fraser, and many others who have really made Indian English poetry stronger. But what is the objective of my today's talk is actually I'm inspired by the younger legs, younger minds of India. Now, in last 10 years or so, I have come across a kind of interest among the young generation to write poetry in English. Because we cannot deny that India lies in translation from regional languages into English. But at the same time, as we consider English as one of the Indian languages now, it is obvious that now people have inherited, I would say poets have inherited the language so much that their poetry can compete with any good poetry of any language. That's why Indian English poetry is possibly the genre that has taken up. Now it's time that it gets impetus and it travels across the globe. The young poetry associations of different parts of India or associations who promote like GIEWEC, who promote Indian writing in English. Now it's time that they emphasize and they inspire younger writers to write more and publish more, not only in India but also worldwide, so that the people will come to know and understand what is going on in the current scenario of Indian English poetry. We cannot deny the fact that we are living in the Asian century or great Asian century. I will predict the next 30 years or so will be the time for Indian English poetry written in English. I will meet again with all of you with a longer duration, with longer contexts, perspectives, and parameters to discuss with the variety and the individual poets of different parts, organizations, and the academic forces which may promote and which may really include Indian English poets in different universities, colleges in India, as well as in different universities, colleges, institutions all over the world. I'll be the happier person if I travel next time to Europe or America or Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, and if I see Indian poets are being taught or they are part of their curricula. Some of them are. But when we talk of Indian writers, the foreigners talk of Indian novelists. Nothing harm in that. That's great. But it's another, when it took some years to digest English so much, and now English is our flesh and blood. We can mold it, shape it right back in poetic parameters. So I really appreciate all of you for your attention, and I would love to take up a couple of comments if you really want to make. But I will again come back to you and talk on poetry and the home of poetry. And there are so many good things to talk about, because we are in Kolkata is also planning for a poetry library, I think, which will be very innovative if we can materialize in near future. But the future lies with younger minds and younger generation. That they should take it up. They should write more, publish more, nationally, internationally. Thank you. If you have any comments, observation, I am live.